New U.S. tariffs on more than 60 countries are now in effect, with possible impacts on prices, jobs, and the global economy. And joining us this morning is Gerson, Gibbs, Senior Managing Partner at Belite Capital, to break down what it could mean for businesses and consumers. Thanks for being with us this morning.
Thanks for having me.
Want to hop right in. What do these new tariffs mean for the average American consumer?
Well, we don't quite know yet. Of course, there's assumptions that prices are going to go up because tariffs have impacted about 90 countries now. This went into effect in Trump's 200th day, and people are afraid that prices are going to rise. But we're not sure yet, and we're not going to know for the next couple of months as to how these tariffs are going to impact individual consumers and businesses.
How do you expect Wall Street and major financial institutions to respond to all this in the coming weeks?
Well, I see there'll be a little bit of volatility. I don't believe it'll be too much volatility. I think that initially there was a lot of disruptions in the market because it was just the first time people ever seeing this approach from an administration in many, many years. So there was a lot of confusion, a lot of fear, and they didn't know how prices were going to be impacted. But I don't think the markets are going to be impacted as much. As we can see this week, the market had all-time highs. So I don't truly believe that there's going to be a tremendous impact because the initial tariff announcement caused a lot of changes, and I think the market has become a little bit accustomed to what's occurring.
Well, to that end, the White House is saying that these tariffs will drive economic growth, but hiring is slowing and inflation is rising. Can both of these narratives be true?
I believe they can. I think the overall objective of these tariffs are to try to bring manufacturing back to the United States and bring jobs back to the United States. Of course, companies are in the belief that this is going to impact their bottom line. So I think they're trying to get ahead of it, and there are some layoffs because of it. But I think this is just the beginning, and there will be a lot of different adjustments, and then it could possibly work out for the best.
Well, with all this uncertainty, though, I mean, the question is, are tariffs an effective tool to bringing countries to the negotiating table, or is the economic cost at home too high?
Well, I think it's been working. I think that Trump has been able to strike some deals that are in his favor and in the favor of the United States. However, it's going to take a little bit of time to determine how these tariffs are really going to impact things. I think the tariffs are actually opening the doors to more negotiations. There were a few countries that were in discussions for the last few months and were able to strike a deal before the reciprocal tariffs went into effect this Thursday. However, I think there's a lot of countries that are still at the table and negotiating. I believe that the administration has taken this approach just to bring countries to the table.
So speaking of countries, China being one of them, if no deal is reached with China, what kind of ripple effects could we see in the banking and investment sectors when it comes to China and these tariffs?
Well, I don't believe there'll be too much disruption. Again, as I mentioned, the initial tariff announcement brought a lot of uncertainties, so you saw a lot of volatility in the markets. However, this time around, I believe that American-based companies have also been negotiating on the other side in anticipation of how these tariffs would impact their businesses. So I don't think that there's going to be a lot of disruptions. I think companies here are trying to get ahead of it. And I think China is trying to come to some type of negotiation and come to the table with the United States, because the tariffs are going to have an overall impact on imports, and it can affect both parts of the economy, both on China's end as well as the domestic end. So I think this is all part of a negotiation. I think it's ultimately going to work out. And I think that America is going to be at the head of this.
So, Gerson, in our last couple of seconds here, I just want you to button it up for us, for those concerned about tariffs, what it means for them, because a lot of this, seems like inside baseball. But for people at home, what does it mean for me? Bottom line it for us.
It means that this administration is using tariffs to negotiate. I don't think that there's going to be a tremendous impact on prices immediately. I think that we have to wait and we have to see how it plays out. I think that some countries could possibly come back to the table and negotiate lower tariffs and give the president what he's asking for. So I don't believe that there's going to be a direct impact just yet. We are about a couple of months out. I believe like 3 or 4 months out till we start seeing a little bit of an uptick. I don't believe that companies want to offset some of these expenses that are going to increase because of tariffs to their consumers. But this is just all part of the negotiation, and I think that it's ultimately going to work out. And there might be a little bit of uptick in prices, but but I don't think it'll be a tremendous increase.
Gerson Gibbs, Senior Managing Partner at Belite Capital. Thank you so much for your insight this morning. We appreciate it. Information on your screen there where you can get a hold of Gerson. Thank you so much.
Thank you. Have a good one.
You too.